Growing up with the model minority label in the 21st century means that as the world becomes a lot more competitive and as people are vying for increasingly small positions in places like colleges or jobs, you're put to higher and higher standards, right? The margin of error that you as a person are given is so much lower than many of your peers, to the point where, while many other people might be given leeway or room for error, you're expected to be perfect or as close to it as possible. I think my perspective on this is a little bit unique because I, grew up biracial, right? My dad is white and my mom is Korean. And I grew up in a pretty Korean-heavy neighborhood. And so because of that, I didn't face too much racism or mistreatment because of my race. There were still definitely people who, would call me slurs, or like me and my sibling as we were walking home from school. But I think the more significant way in which it's impacted me is kind of the combination of being both queer and trans and also Asian, both of which are kind of marginalized or minority groups that are often fetishized in society today. And so in many ways, my body and my sexuality oftentimes become an object for other people to basically view as like things that they can use or manipulate for their own purposes or pleasures.
Different Asian communities have different experiences. So personally, I'm Cambodian American, and assumptions of like high socioeconomic status or like high academic achievement doesn't really apply to our community. In fact, I think we are a very vulnerable community. But even then, we're included in the model minority myth, which is a complete misconception of what the Cambodian community is currently facing in the United States. So to be assumed that you're doing well and not being provided any support at all is damaging in some sense.
Something interesting about being, I think, Asian American, or at least Indian, is that term Asian American kind of almost seems to not apply. And that comes in the sense where, at least in America, right, the term Asian American typically refers to East Asians, whereas like I'm like South Asian, right? So like me, I'm an Indian, so Indians, Pakistani, Sri Lankans, we all kind of like don't like fall under that purview of being South, Asian, like stereotypically, at least in the sense like when people say Asian, they don't think of us. But we do kind of share the same stereotypes, right? When it comes to like the idea of being the model minority, which is that, oh, we must be good at school, like we focus a lot on like our finances, like we kind of play the game when it comes to like capitalism and making sure that like our families are making like money, we do like good jobs like in STEM, all of that stuff, right? But then we also kind of have like our own host of other stereotypes, which comes in like the sense of, oh, people might say, oh, you probably own a 7-Eleven, you probably own like some kind of like hotel business, right? You probably eat curry or something when you go home, stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a little interesting that we're kind of in these two worlds.
I'm a first-generation immigrant. I moved to the United States when I was 14 years old, and I'm the first person in my family to really attend an American university. And even though I'm not technically first-generation because both my parents got their bachelor's degrees, it was still really hard navigating the educational system here in the United States. And in a lot of ways, I had to figure out a lot of those things myself, which is an experience that I think a lot of first-generation students can relate to.
So growing up as an Italian Chinese or Chinese Italian, I guess, definitely get to celebrate all the Chinese culture and definitely having all the Italian culture around the city, and definitely that's both benefiting. But like definitely like people see you differently, thinking that you are more Chinese rather than Italian, so they might not like justify you or verify you that you're Italian, so they don't even mind to ask you, or they just think you are Chinese instead of asking for your asking for yourself in a way. Mm-hmm. So that's mainly what I experienced so far.
So personally for me, I'm very proud of being Filipino American, and it helps me strive to work hard as well as also make my community proud as well.
But being an Asian American at Cal has really helps me connect with other people who have the same background as me in the Filipino community, also the East Asian community lately, and just like knowing that these people are there for me and they've experienced the same things as me, and I just don't feel alone. And going out into the world as an adult college graduate, it makes me feel more confident in knowing that wherever I am, I'm always going to have that type of support because of my identity.
It's very important to hold on to that, and it's very important to love who you are, despite whatever the world may say.